electric vehicle sales in India for financial year 24 have surprised on the upside. Now, electric vehicle sales in financial year 24 witnessed a robust increase of over 41%, notwithstanding subsidy cuts as well as regulatory shifts. Total EV registrations for financial year 24 surpassed 1.6 million, which is significantly higher than last year's 1.1 million. All this has pushed the overall EV penetration in the country to 6.8% for the last financial year as compared to 5.3% for financial year 23. The uptick was despite government's decision in June of last year to reduce subsidies under FAME, or the faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles, to a third of maximum 66,000 it was offering on electric two-wheelers until then. Moreover, remember, the centre also replaced FAME Phase 2 scheme with a new electric mobility scheme called the Electric Mobility Promotion Scheme (EMPS) in 2024, which will provide discounts of up to 10,000 rupees on electric two-wheelers and electric three-wheelers starting 1st of April. Although the subsidies are not to the same amount as they were up until June of last year, it does look like, Kartik, more people are now taking to EVs.
So I think, Shweta, it has to do a lot with, number one, obviously, that chasm that comes every time in the life cycle of a product or its penetration in a market. So there are these early adopters, and I think we had 1 million of those early adopters back in 2023. In fact, 1.1 million people had bought electric vehicles of some kind. The bulk of that was electric two-wheelers, because electric two-wheeler owners were the biggest beneficiaries of the FAME subsidy, both FAME 1, which did not take off as significantly as FAME 2 did, but we saw in FAME 2 about 1 million odd early adopters did take those early discounts, did explore the technology, and did face those minor hiccups and some not so minor hiccups, including scooters catching fire and batteries exploding, and showrooms in fact getting burnt. But that notwithstanding, I think overall the market is maturing. I would not say that this 40%, 41% growth is great in percentage terms, but in absolute numbers, you've gone from just about 1 million to about 1.5 million, 1.1 to 1.6 million.
I mean, percentage,
so
it looks
the
good.
Percentage looks great, but the base is, the base is also 1 million. You can't really call it a small base, but it's 1 million scooters, and on 1 million scooters, you've actually gone just to about 1.5 million. The targets were much higher. In fact, before FAME 2 was withdrawn, the estimate was that this year would close at about 2 million. So honestly, we are still short of that target. Remember, the overall target that India has on electric mobility is that by 2030, we need 30% of our passenger vehicles to be electric. We are still way short of that number, and we've just got about 5 financial years to go before we aim to attain that 30% penetration. Right now at 6.6, 6.8%, these numbers are still small. I think the point I'm trying to drive home is that these early adopters obviously, explored with the technology, but along with them exploring the technology, the government has also invested in charging infrastructure. And not just the government alone, even private sector is now taking part in ensuring that there are enough ways and means to charge these electric vehicles which are getting bought by people. And hence, one thing leading to another, it's pretty much, a ball rolling in the right direction, where all elements of policy as well as, after sales of charging infrastructure, some discount, if not deep discounting, at least some discounts on electric vehicles, all of that coming together and moving in the right direction, though I feel the pace could definitely pick up a lot more than where it is right now.
Okay, the pace, a current pace at which it's come to about 6.8%, as you mentioned, is far less than what the government is estimating by 2030, which is about 30% of the total passenger vehicle fleet. Now, it's also interesting to divide this in two-wheelers, three-wheelers versus the four-wheelers category, which is where we've not seen the kind of penetration that either the government would want or is expecting and hoping for by 2030, just under 3% till date.
Absolutely. So I think four-wheelers are the laggards here. In the four-wheeler space, you're still looking at a 2.3% penetration, which is minuscule. Imagine if you have to take it up to 30, you're looking at a 15x growth in 5 financial years. So, do the CAGR, it's some astounding number, which is going to be difficult to attain unless there are more significant policy measures taken by way of greater tax incentives, let's say on buying electric or hybrid vehicles, making ICE engines more expensive, making re-registration of ICE engines more difficult. So, you know, if those sort of spanners are thrown in the works of ICE engines and the alternative being electric or hybrid emerges as a much better option for people to go for. And I think most importantly, battery prices need to come down. So again, we don't have a self-reliance when it comes to the lithium-ion batteries. In fact, India is one of the only countries in the world, and private companies within India, KPIT Tech being one, the only one who's exploring an alternative to lithium-ion in the form of sodium-ion batteries. But this whole battery manufacturing process has to kick in, where the initial cost that has to be incurred by consumers on buying a four-wheeler gets reduced, slashed drastically. That obviously is a much better situation working in favor of two-wheelers, where the cost of acquisition in any case is small and the subsidies also kick in. On commercial vehicles like buses, because these are large fleet operators which go ahead and buy them and large government-driven orders, I think the conversion numbers are bound to be much better because it's not you and me at the end of the day who are parking our money in purchasing a vehicle. So three-wheelers as well as commercial vehicles will see greater adoption, greater penetration. Two-wheelers will continue to be on track, but for passenger vehicles in the four-wheeler segment, I think a lot more policy initiative will have to be brought in.
Absolutely. And as far as commercial vehicles is concerned, it does look like there's a large uptick, especially for three-wheelers where the penetration is over 30%. But for four-wheelers, which is where the laggard is, which is where the problem is at the moment, where cost of acquisition as well as charging infrastructure is still not intact or as much as we, the consumers, would like it to be.